Hey folks, I'm totally not named Dan, though you can call me that if you want, and I'm back with my buddy Yuna the sheep to talk about some recent errata.
Thanks for having me along for this. It's always good to keep updated with the news.
Yep, so we've actually had two different pieces, so I'm going to go over them bit by bit, starting out with the stuff that came out with Yu Yu itself. Because the Yu Yu Hakusho set, well, like pretty much every set, had some misprints in it. The first and possibly the most stupid one is the Three Eyes of Hiei. Nothing is wrong with the text of the card. That's not been errated. It's just the old card had a 6 check, and the new card does not. And it turns out that's an error.
Yeah, just an errata to make the card better.
Yeah, so just check better, lol. To go with that classic. Then we have Absorbed Energy Spirit Strike. Absorbed Energy Spirit Strike was, for its second ability, enhance your rival discards one momentum. This attack gets plus X damage. X equals the difficulty of the discarded momentum. However, momentum doesn't actually have a difficulty unless it's face up.
Which is likely going to cause problems because you don't want to just get X equals 0 all the time.
Yeah, so that's been changed to if they did discard a momentum, so just if they did, this attack gets plus X damage. X equals the difficulty of the top card of your rival's discard pile, which in a few instances might not work. Might find a different card, but the vast majority of the time, unless there's a response that actively acts in the middle of this ability, it will hit the card that came from momentum. It will give you the number that it was supposed to give you all along.
Yeah, it's like 99% of the time it now works unless they do something to change that.
Yeah. And then likewise, Sword Get Longer, similar to Three Eyes of Hiei. The original card looked at 8 minus your printed hand size, but they left the word printed off the reprint. I was hoping this was errata so that it would do some crazy things with All Might. Turns out no.
Oh, that's sad. There was some interesting thing with just All Might with it.
Yeah, they're just errataing the new version back, so realistically, no character is going to get more than 3 cards built from it. But I mean, build 3 face down committed foundations is not a bad enhance, especially on what's a 4 diff in Desperation.
Yeah, it's still a good card. It would just slightly better in one deck if it wasn't errated.
Yeah, and if you want to see more about how Desperation works, we've got a video on that as well. I'll link in the description. Then the final one of this batch is Hiei Dragon Within, or Hiei 2 dot if you prefer the old terminology. He was response commit. After your rival plays a block, seal it and discard it. Return this attack to its printed speed and damage, and they may try to block this attack a second time. Now, we've talked about this, so I think you know what's wrong with that.
Yeah, it's that it doesn't stop the attack from having been blocked, so you can just clear it, and you're just giving them an advantage of just clearing their card pool.
Yeah.
Or you can use it for things such as Breaker and such.
So it's been errata to say seal it, discard it, and cancel the block status. It has also been errata to have reminder text, your rival may not play responses to playing the first block. Which is interesting. But I mean, the reason that works is because it's your turn, you get first response. So if you go response, commit, discard the block's not there for them to respond to. I think that's what that's about.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hiei is the big change here, because they did need to change Hiei to actually work, otherwise there was no point playing a second block in the first place.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all of those. There is a little more online event errata, but I don't believe it's to any new cards here in this particular document. And there's a massive difference between what's banned in Standard and what's banned in Spotlight, but it turns out that's just, there's a whole load of banned cards in the first set of My Hero that wouldn't be legal in Standard anyway. So,
damn, that is a big change.
Yeah. Difference between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cards, or 3.
The damn first set's always making stuff that's busted.
I don't even think most of it was that bad. But hey. Then we have this month's Ban and Errata update. Shows, oh, wow, that was a between months one there. I mean, we got another errata to Three Eyes of Hiei, which is in fact just webcam errata. The card that you look at from your opponent, when you look at the top card of both decks, has to be revealed if you're playing webcam. This does not affect most people in most games, but, you know, if you're playing webcam, your opponent has to reveal their card, because otherwise it's a real pain to show you it over their camera without looking themselves.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine how hard that would be.
But yeah, going back up, we have an actual non-webcam errata to FATCOM 2, specifically because people have been asking what happens if you play a second FATCOM 2. Do you get to draw 3 cards still? The answer, as previously worded, was yes. Yeah, it's contingent on the new FATCOM 2 becoming your starting character, but I mean, there's nothing to stop FATCOM 2 replacing FATCOM 2.
No, I didn't know about that. I may have played Fatgum more if I knew that was the case.
So yeah, if you could cheat in a second copy of him, you could absolutely just draw 3 more cards. This has been errated to say the first time you build a copy of FATGUM 2, it becomes your starting character, draw 3 cards, and remove all copies of FATGUM 1 from your stage. Which is interesting, because it now means that it also doesn't become your starting character. But ultimately, that changes nothing, because you'd just be changing your starting character from FATGUM to FATGUM.
Yeah.
The first FATGUM 2 still becomes your starting character, so you still become FATGUM 2. The only real change is that you don't get to draw 3 extra cards.
Yeah, which was the entire point of people doing it, so now people won't be doing that.
Yeah, now there's not really any reason to play more than 1 FATGUM 2 in your deck, because you can always search it up when you need anyway.
Yeah, because I believe FATGUM 1, just you find it from anywhere, including removed from game.
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of bad if you find it out your hand, just because, well, it takes a card out of your hand and you only get 3 cards to replace it. You don't get an extra 4th to make up for the fact that you lost a card in hand.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can find it from anywhere. And yeah, that's the ban and errata of this month. It's literally just a webcam piece for 3 Eyes of Hiei and an update to FATGUM to stop one weird niche interaction.
Yeah. I didn't think we would see anything banned this month because I don't think there's really any one big major card that's a threat at the minute. And we're in between sets, so maybe the new set would have fixed if there was one anyway, so...
Yeah. And there is, as always, the new set stuff as that's come out, but even that's really just correcting reprinted cards to do what they're supposed to have done all along, and then adjusting Hiei because Hiei was weirdly worded, and blocking twice is not an ability that has existed since, I think, Sabertooth days.
And that is a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody really knew what the wording was supposed to be for that until it got made, people sat down, and pro players went, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense.
And I guess that's a good thing about this game is that the pro players do interact with the company, so when these things get found, they are fixed.
Yeah. The downside, of course, is that these things don't get found until the pro players get their hands on the cards with everybody else. But at least they do get fixed roughly around the time of the set's launch, and actually they're getting better about that. I do remember when we'd go to pre-releases and the cards would work completely differently to how they'd work like a week or 2 later when the set became tournament legal.
Yeah, but I think it came up in our set 4 pre-release with something. I can't remember what card it was.
I don't remember either, but there were definitely some cards where interactions worked at the pre-release and nowhere else. And it wasn't because we had off-symbol cards, it was just because they were worded weirdly.
Yeah.
But they've been getting better and better, bringing the errata forward and forward, to the point where this one actually, I'm only talking about it now, but the Hiei errata happened before the release event, which was the first time we were legally able to play Hiei. So Hiei never had the wrong text. Hiei always functioned. That's good. Of course, cards like the 3 Eyes of Hiei here still don't say that 6 check on them, and could really do with doing so. But it's not the end of the world if you can just play the old version. And I will be playing the old version of all of these anyway, because I like the old frames more than the new ones.
The new frame is slowly growing on me as we play with it more, but I do still prefer the old frames.
It works very nicely with a lot of these old anime properties because it looks so dated. But at the same time, just the huge block of grey on 3 Eyes of Hiei is still not great. And I've talked about this in my Discord a bit. The symbols are tiny on even Yu Yu Hakusho cards. They are increasing the size a little bit for Critical Role, which I really like.
Yeah.
It's still a problem because they're still printing more and more cards which look at symbols, and the symbols are still really hard to read a lot of the time. So it does slow down gameplay, but ultimately, at least they're making changes back towards the right place.
Yeah, they've listened to what people have said and they've made an actual effort to change it without changing the entire card frame again.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I would prefer if they did change the entire card frame again, because the My Hero frames were just superior frames. But, you know, at least they're making an effort.
Yeah.
And likewise, They've been messing around with tournament structure. I don't think that's really the sort of thing I cover, but it's been interesting because people were so furious about the idea of having a mixed format where partway through we'd cut to playing just top 32 with draft, and then partway through that we'd cut back to playing constructed with top 8 or top 16.
Yeah. Like, I'm fine with draft, but keep draft to draft and constructed to constructed.
It was making a huge mess of the scene, and it's just interesting to see how, it took them a few weeks, but they went back on the entire thing because people were so against it. So they are listening.
It's not the first card game to do this either, because for a while with Yu-Gi-Oh, the first rounds of an event were draft with battle packs.
But I mean, that's a little bit better, right? It's not you play a bit of constructed, you cut people out of constructed, and then you come back to constructed later.
Yeah. And like, at least, like they've said with this, they are going to slowly be making sets more draft friendly. But at least with Yu-Gi-Oh, it was literally a pack made for draft, so it was better in that regard.
I am very worried about what draft friendly means, because even with Yu, we've been seeing every character now has a common that is just a French vanilla dead card.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see more of that in the name of draft friendliness. But yeah, the issue isn't draft. Draft is never the issue. Draft is a fantastic format. I absolutely love drafting this game, but
same.
I don't like the mixed format idea. I don't like the fact that it cuts to top 32 way early. So I'm glad both of those are gone. And I don't like the idea of dumbing down the cards so that low rarities are useless just in the name of draft.
Yeah, because making common to rare worse for the sake of draft just means that it's going to make UR than SRs even more expensive because there's less good cards to use.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we got at the qualifiers for the Wish tournament, the release events for Yu Yu Hakusho, which is somebody opened Spirit Sword Ultimate, I think it was. I think that was the name of it, Kuwabara SR, and just built a slight bit around it and just won the entire event playing this one SR once per game every game.
Like, that is a part of draft. It's one of the bad parts of it where sometimes one overpowered card can mean that somebody wins if others don't have ways to stop it.
Well, the reason that happens is because the set isn't balanced. The SRs are made to be stupidly strong.
And yeah, they're still strong in constructed, but if you're deck building well, you should have ways to deal with it, which you don't in draft.
I mean, it's still not amazing in constructed. I still think they should be big and splashy, not necessarily ridiculously powerful. But that's been an ongoing issue since set 5, I think. That's something to talk about another time, maybe.
Yeah.
But now, we've had a little bit about an errata, but it's not really changed anything significant. It's just made Hiei work.
Mm-hmm. Which is always good. You should always have your characters working how they should be.
Yeah. Obviously, if the character cards don't work, there's a problem.
Mm.
Personally, I think they should change the rules for that one character who requires you to commit cards in your card pool. Make her work. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll catch you again in the next video.
Yeah. See ya.
Bye.